in 1980, Generation X was supposed to be the slacker generation. The latchkey kids were raised by divorced and working parents. The cynical cohort was skeptical of government and comforting traditions. But behind the flannel shirts and apathetic attitudes, Gen Zers have struggled and adapted in an America that never fully supported them. An America that promised opportunity yet offered few stable jobs or affordable homes. An America that paid lip service to family values while the social safety net unraveled and inequality grew. The oldest middle children. Sandwiched between two larger generations, the baby boomers and millennials, Gen X is the neglected middle child, the Jan Brady of 20th century American life. Never indulged like the idealistic, optimism-soaked boomers. Never doted on like the precious, confidence-coddled millennials. Gen X was left to fend for itself, forging an identity from what it was not coddled yet not free, not honored yet not ignored. At around 65 million strong in the U.S., Gen X found power in numbers, bonding over a shared sense of alienation and financial anxiety as well as cultural touchstones like punk rock, hip-hop, and grunge. Cynical yet entrepreneurial, independent yet neglected, Gen X became the flint that sparked the shift from analog to digital, from offline to online. The connected technology it embraced and pioneered offered escape, opportunity, and companionable commiseration. Slacker, skeptic, survivor. Gen X came of age when government corruption peaked with Watergate. Traditional familial and social structures crumbled as divorce rates climbed. The Reagan era, greed is good mantra drove wealth inequality to historic highs. Job security eroded as factories moved overseas and automation increased. Stable middle-class lives grew harder to attain and sustain. The social safety net frayed as programs were cut and public investment declined. Gen X adapted by becoming more skeptical and self-reliant. Less likely to expect the opportunity to be handed to them, they hustled in the emerging gig economy, cobbling together side hustles and entrepreneurial ventures. They embraced technology as a democratizing tool and built the first websites, video games, and online communities. They valued authenticity and inclusive spaces where credentials mattered less than creativity. Forged by economic instability, Gen X hustled hard but hoped for less. Financial independence became the goal, not riches. Work-life balance and job satisfaction meant more than salary and status. They prized pragmatism over political purity, diversity over dogma, and authenticity over appearances. Not inclined to trust authorities, they became resourceful tinkerers and builders in the pre-browser wilderness of cyberspace. A difficult coming of age. The cultural touchstones that define Gen X's coming of age reveal the trajectory of its unique struggles. Movies like The Breakfast Club, Say Anything, and Reality Bites portrayed smart, sarcastic youths stymied by social pressures and limited choices. Artists like Nirvana, Tupac, Public Enemy, and Ani DeFranco channeled rage at social hypocrisy into searing takedowns of cultural complacency. Their music gave voice to those who felt invisible yet constrained by societal judgment. From the DIY zines of punk culture to the early unfiltered internet, Gen X embraced new ways to create community and opportunities outside established institutions. It was a cohort hungry for connection yet wary of being exploited. First-wave tech startups like Netscape, eBay, and Amazon offered a vision of digital commerce and connection liberated from institutional gatekeeping. Gen X flocked to these sites as customers, creators, and employees. The dot-com boom promised a new frontier of opportunity. But just as Gen X began entering its prime learning years, the boom went bust. The dot-com crash of 2000 wiped out jobs and wealth, a warning sign of the greater economic turmoil to come. Empty promises of the American dream. Generation X was the first cohort since the greatest generation to experience downward mobility. Entering adulthood, Gen X faced stagnant wages, fewer company pensions and benefits, and climbing housing, healthcare, and education costs. Once reliable rungs on the ladder of economic mobility like college and home ownership became debt traps instead of stepping stones to prosperity. Predatory loans took advantage of the aspirational middle-class ethos Gen X was raised with. Promised brighter futures if they followed the traditional path, many instead found themselves saddled with crushing student loan debt and underwater mortgages. Gen X powered through the volatile late 20th century economy through grit and ingenuity. But the system was stacked against them through no fault of their own. The lack of economic opportunities at home pushed many to seek jobs overseas. Government policy failed to curb the exploitation of workers and consumers. Rewards increasingly flowed to the top at the expense of the middle and working class. Safety nets intended to support family stability were slashed. Stock market swings devoured retirement savings. Economic bubbles inflated by easy credit and reckless speculation left Gen X overleveraged and underinsured when crises hit. Generation X's pivotal role in the ascent of the digital economy helped generate unprecedented wealth and connectivity. But it did not grant them an equitable share of the prosperity. The neglected middle managers. Now well into midlife, Generation X finds itself in a cultural and economic bind. With boomers aging into retirement and millennials now the largest generational cohort, Gen Zers are the pivot point of the modern workforce. The experienced yet overlooked middle managers passed over for promotions again and again. The loyal employees are deemed replaceable when economic turbulence hits. The pragmatic caretakers supporting aging parents while trying to save for their children's education and their own uncertain retirement. Many hope to buy homes, raise families, save money, and start businesses supported by the wealth of the go-go 1990s and 2000s. But two devastating financial crises battered those dreams. Gen X powered through the turbulence by adapting, seeking cheaper homes in exurbs and smaller cities, taking on side hustles and entrepreneurial projects for extra income, embracing digital tools to reduce costs and find remote work, going back to school mid-career to gain an edge. Yet the generational wealth and security their parents enjoyed continues to elude most Gen Zers. Entering middle age, many still find themselves playing catch-up financially. The window of peak earning years ahead of retirement is closing fast. Forgotten and frustrated, Generation X is used to being overlooked and underestimated. For decades it found ways to hustle, adapt, and survive with little societal support. But frustration is growing with each era of economic turmoil and unchanged systems of unequal reward. The smartphone culture Gen X engineered provides ample outlets for catharsis through snarky memes and comforting commiseration. But under the laughter is a deepening anger and anxiety. After decades of innovation and effort, Gen X now finds itself the economically precarious pivot point between powerful yet needy generations on either side. The weary caretakers of aging boomer parents and underemployed millennial kids. The anxious shepherds are forced to stay presentable and productive in an increasingly unforgiving workplace. The economic fruits of their digital pioneering were plucked by younger entrepreneurs and consolidated by corporate interests. The security they were promised in exchange for playing by the rules never fully materialized. Stuck between eras of optimism and upheaval, Gen X remains the neglected middle child of recent American history. Passed over for power as their innovative energies and shrinking numbers are taken for granted. An uncertain legacy. What will be Generation X's legacy? Will it be the connected creators who sparked the digital revolution? The jaded skeptics who injected authenticity into consumer culture? Or the overlooked generation whose unmet needs warped society in their absence? Generation X's story is still unfolding, but its fate will hinge on how much agency and opportunity society chooses to grant it now. Can Gen X access economic rewards commensurate with their productivity before retirement? Will their critiques of a fraying society be heeded or dismissed as the bitter complaints of the perpetual middle child? Will younger generations realize that the witty cynicism and restless innovation of Gen X were born of frustrated dreams rather than slack indifference? America's promise has always been that self-determination and effort granted a fair shot at prosperity. Generation X embodies the promise and peril of that prospect. Maybe the last great opportunity to nurture the inspired pragmatism and restless creativity of Generation X is now. Before the failed promises of the past overshadow hope for an equitable future. Before the window of possibility slams shut, leaving the neglected middle children locked out of the American dream once again.